listening to your inner child. To take good care of ourselves, we must go back and take care of the wounded child inside of us. You have to practice going back to your wounded child every day. You have to embrace him or her tenderly, like a big brother or a big sister. We must listen to the wounded child inside of us. The wounded child in us is here in the present moment. And we can heal him or her right now. My dear little wounded child, I'm here for you, ready to listen to you. Please, tell me all your suffering, all your pain. I am here, really listening. We have to embrace that child. And if necessary, we have to cry together with that child, perhaps while we are doing sitting meditation. We can go into the forest and do that. And if you know how to go back to her, to him, and listen like that every day for 5 or 10 minutes, healing will take place. Among us there are people who have practiced this, and after a period of practice, there has been a diminution of their suffering and a transformation. After practicing like that, we see the relationship between ourselves and others has become much better, much easier. We see more peace, more love in us.
There goes a story of a priest and a barber, and both of were walking through a wretched slum. So the barber, he was an atheist. He asked, if there is a God, and he is a God of love, how can there be so much of poverty, deprivation, character-destroying vices? A God of love would never allow these things to exist. The priest did not reply immediately. Upon walking further, they came across a man with a week's worth of unsightly stubble on his face. Some beard. His hair was unkempt and badly grown 3 or 4 inches over the back of his coat. The priest said, if you were a good barber, there wouldn't be men like that fellow we just passed. The barber indignantly replied, what do you mean? That man never approached me. To this the priest replied, if poor people approached God, he would help them. What actually is that most of the poor are resigned to their fate and do not take their initiative to lift themselves out of misery. One day, a patient suffering from deep melancholy presented himself to Abernathy. After careful examination, the celebrated practitioner said, you need amusement. Go and witness the performance of the comedian Grimaldi. The circus is in the city right now. Grimaldi will make you laugh, and that will do you more good than medication. The patient threw up his hands in despair and said, my God, I am Grimaldi. Sometimes people who entertain others may often express and experience sadness themselves. They act convincingly but without experiencing the joy in their hearts. That is why Grimaldi, who usually made others laugh, didn't have the inner glow in himself. He was depressed. For one traveler, it was a surprisingly pleasant train journey from New York to Philadelphia, as there was only one more passenger beside her. Her co passenger was a rather heavy set man, but her comfort was disturbed when the man lit a cigar and started smoking. The lady deliberately coughed and made a face to show her displeasure. Nothing worked. He continued to smoke. Then she blurted out, "You might be a foreigner. So don't you know that there is a smoking car ahead? Smoking is prohibited here." The man quietly threw his cigar out of the window and maintained his equanimity. When the conductor came to examine the tickets, the lady passenger realized with horror that her co-passenger was the famous General Ulysses Grant. She had boarded his private car by mistake. As the lady made a hasty exit, the general did not even look at her, so as not to embarrass her. He turned his head and smiled, only after the woman was out of sight. A long time ago, in ancient Greek city, there stood a statue called Opportunity. Every bit of it has vanished now, but an epigram describing the statue still exists. "What is your name, O statue?" "I am called Opportunity." "Who made you?" "The sculptor Lysippus." "Why are you on your toes?" "To show that I stay but a moment." "Why do you have wings on your feet?" "To show how quickly I pass by." "But why is your hair so long on your forehead?" "So that men may seize me when they meet me." "Then why is your head so bald behind?" "To show that once I have passed, I cannot be caught." Opportunity must be seized by the forelock. Once an opportunity has passed, there is no recalling it. The following lines may be remembered in this context. "They do me wrong who say I come no more, when once I knock and fail to find you in. For every day I stand outside your door and bid you wake and rise to fight and win." With every waking moment, you have the opportunity to acquire knowledge and skills in a field of interest. Be proactive. Your destiny will be shaped by the choices you make. Early one afternoon, a fisherman retired for the day and he was smoking his pipe under a tree, without care on his mind. There was an industrialist passing by and he found his laziness unsettling. "Why are you not fishing?" he asked the fisherman. The fisherman answered, "I have caught enough fish for the day." "Why don't you catch some more fish?" the businessman suggested. "What would I do with it?" the fisherman replied. The businessman said, "You would earn some more money. Then you can fix up a motor to your boat, which will enable you to go into deeper waters and catch some more fish. That will bring you money to buy nylon nets, which will in turn will help you catch even more fish and earn even more money. Soon you will have enough to buy 2 boats, even a fleet of boats. Money will pour in continuously, and then you'll just be rich like me. What would I do then? Then you can really enjoy life. Then the fisherman said something. What do you think I'm doing right now? Amassing health and enjoying life are two different things. Have you not observed that some wealthy persons commit suicide while others who are poor display greater fortitude and happiness? Earning money should never be our only aim in life. We should be able to develop inner strength and inner peace of mind through whatever we do. Isaac Newton was invited for dinner by a close friend. Newton reached the place late and sat down in a living room without informing anyone of his arrival. His friend, having waited a while, had concluded that Newton had been held up on some account. He had assumed that Newton was not coming, had eaten his dinner, and gone to bed. Newton, completely engrossed in important scientific matters, sat in the living room all night, having forgotten about both eating and sleeping. The next morning, his host spotted him sitting in the living room. His friend was naturally upset, and Newton apologized to him profusely. Concentration is the hallmark of success. Lincoln's favorite story. Lincoln was fond of telling stories about himself. One of his favorites was the following. In the days when I used to be on the circuit, traveling on horseback from one country to another, I was once accosted by a stranger who said, "Excuse me, sir, but I have an article in my possession that belongs to you." "What is that?" I asked, considerably astonished. The stranger took a jackknife from his pocket. "The knife," said he, "was placed in my hands some years ago. I was told that I was to keep it until I found a man uglier than myself. I have carried it from that time to this day. Allow me to say, sir, that you are now fairly entitled to the property." Lincoln was not afraid to make fun of himself. The ability to laugh at yourself displays wisdom and character. Over 40 years, John Wesley had traveled 250,000 miles on a horseback, averaging 20 miles a day. He had preached 40,000 sermons, produced 400 books, and mastered 10 languages. At the age of 83, he was annoyed that he could not ride for more than 15 hours a day without hurting his eyes, and at 86, he was ashamed he could not preach more than twice a day. He also often complained in his diary that he had an increasing tendency to lie in the bed until 5:30 a.m. in the morning. The older he grew, the harder He drove himself. Nothing deterred him. He was unstoppable. In the case of John Wesley, age was of no relevance. He did not use his increasing age as an excuse to stop working. Instead, he worked more. Until his dying breath, he remained hardworking and productive. This is the story of actor Jack Lemmon. Way back in 1961, he had finished two plays. That is, Some Like It Hot, and the other one was The Apartment. Both were magnificent hits. Then he went back to Broadway to do a play called Face of a Hero, which bombed, which flopped. A cruel review remarked that the play should have been called Trace of a Zero. When the curtain was rung down on the play, Lemmon visualized the bleak future. Tormented with worry and fear, he tossed about in his bed all night. When he opened the door the next morning, he found an envelope waiting for him. The envelope contained 3 scripts, hand-delivered. Producers had heard that Jack Lemmon's play was closing and realized that he would be available to work with them instead. Failure does not hurt anyone. Fear of failure is the real problem. Sarasate, the Spanish violinist of the last century, was once called a genius by a famous critic. When Sarasate heard this, he shook his head and snorted. Genius? I practiced 14 hours a day for 37 years and now they call me genius. There is no genius without hard work and perseverance. So there goes a story of what it means to be a Buddha. So there was a man who came to the Buddha and asked him, "Tell me, Buddha, are you a god?" The Buddha replied, "No, I'm not." "Are you an angel then?" He prodded. The Buddha said, "No, I'm not." "Are you a prophet?" He asked again. "No, not a prophet either," was the calm reply. "Well, what are you then?" he demanded. Whereupon the Buddha answered, "I am awake." So what do you get from this? Most of us are not awake but in perpetual slumber. We are not aware of our own thoughts, feelings and actions. We function like automations. We behave like machines. To be enlightened, we must be those who are awake and awake.